There we go. Now we're talking.
Is it
do,
fucking?
do, do it. Do it now.
Sweat. It's not fucking. Stupid. Pussy.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Back to Trail Mix. Hold on. Okay, now welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I wasn't recording there for a second. I'm glad I remembered it
Oh,
when I did and not halfway through. Oh, Trail Mix Podcast. We are live on YouTube once again.
I'm back. I'm back. I told you I'd be back. No, I'm back. This may be like an Arnold Schwarzenegger night.
Right? Yes. It was a whole slew of Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonations right before we got on here. So it's been, I don't know, we skipped a couple of weeks there.
Yeah.
Um,
Life happens.
yes, yes, life happens, and then you
Yep.
have to just deal with it. So, our last one we did, we were talking about Palm Sunday,
Yeah. Palm Sunday.
and tonight we are going over Easter, or what has become known
Easter.
as Easter.
Yeah. Easter.
Um,
So, like usual, I don't. We're just winging it. Whee!
I need this. Come here.
What are you doing?
I left it way over there tonight for some stupid reason. There we go. Gotta have
Sure.
this.
Gotta have that.
Gotta have
Like
that.
the many Bibles I have, I keep one in my bag that I like take my bag everywhere. And we're just so our church we started a Sunday service. You know that sounds silly, like well, is church on Sunday? Oh, we have church is a little different. Everybody likes to hunt on the weekends, but we decided going to church finally is a little more important than hunting. So, anyways, we have the Sunday service now. This is our second week, so like it's madness at my house because it's like it's anyways, it's like the Sunday morning chaos. Joe is like, oh, let's go to the house, rah, rah, get in the car, rah, 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 and then you get to church and everybody's it's
Yeah.
like so long story short, I'm so used to going to church, like on Wednesday nights or just taking my truck to church, and I didn't take my truck this week. Like I left my Bible in the truck. So like I got to church, I'm like, oh, I have a Bible, and I'm like, I don't like to bring my phone into church. So I'm like, because I'm like, I want to be at church. I don't want to have any hassles or technology or anything. So um, I try anyway. Sometimes I fail. Sometimes I'm like, they're starting, pastor's starting to talk, and I'm like looking around. I'm like, I'm in the back too. So like standing around looking. I'm like, I know we have a like a table in the back with like all the Bibles. Like someone doesn't have a Bible. So I'm like, well, today the guy, I didn't have a Bible. I couldn't find the table. So I was like, started preaching, and I found it. I had to get up, walk across, and get it. So, anyways, always have a Bible with you, even though it's on your phone. I guess I just try not to have my phone around. Be uninterrupted.
Yes.
But Easter. So, how do you want to tackle Easter today? Want to do like
Um, I don't know. I wonder if maybe
biblical?
we start from basically where we left off. Start at the end of the triumphant entry and just kind of work our way through from there.
Yeah,
See where we get.
not you say that. I had it marked out, and then I lost my page because I started flipping back to Matthew.
Oh,
Now I got to jump around. Anyways, so because what we were talking about last time, like we had a really good. Where were we? Where did we finish off last time? This
Oh
is
man.
terrible. We're gonna be the worst two podcasters ever.
Yeah, right. The first 10 minutes. Where did we end off last time? I don't know. We just decided, okay, we're just gonna dive in right here.
Yeah, pretty good patches because we could recap for like 20 minutes while we're looking for stuff.
Right. I mean, that's actually not a bad idea. I mean, because dude, we ended at because there was a whole bunch of rabbit trails.
Yeah, because like he comes into town, and as he's coming into town, I'm like, I can't remember which. Oh, we got 1 in 4 chance. We got 1 in 25 chance of finding it. We'll find it. But pooey. Um, whichever Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, one of them gives like a super detailed account of exactly what happened. Every account was like a little more detailed. And it was just by I think happenstance that we chose. We ended up starting with like the one that had like the least amount of information in comparison to the others.
Right.
So, anyways, so whichever one it was, and I shouldn't have touched anything. Like usual, I touched on and screw it up. Jesus was coming into town. Donkey. Uh, way too far. We just hit John the Baptist birth. Um, huh. He's riding in town donkey. Everybody's putting their clothes down, singing Hosanna, coming in town. And as they get into town, Jesus weeps. He kind of gets, I want to say gets at, he has a profound little speech, if you will. I don't know how to put that because I don't want to say anything else without actually having it in front of me.
Yes,
Makes sense.
it is not in Mark.
Not Mark. I wonder. It's got to be Luke because I was open to Luke again. So, do. Luke, what do you got to say, buddy? Oh my gosh. Passover. This is terrible. Uno momento.
Yeah. Bear with us, people. It's coming. Don't worry.
Find it. Oh, getting crazy. What's the deal? You know what? I'm just gonna see. Look something up real quick. Hmm. What's going on here? What is it? Can't spell now. That's great. Past, passing, Passover. Here we go. Mm, Let's try that. I'm going to start at Matthew 28, 16, 18. I don't think that's right, but I think that's what we're looking for. Okay, what's going on?
Okay, Luke talks about him weeping over Jerusalem.
Yeah, okay. Where you at, Luke?
Luke 19.
Luke 19. I knew it was Luke something.
The weeping story
There it
starts at
is.
41.
Found it. You were right. I gotta quit touching stuff. Or like put bookmarks in.
Yeah, because I think if I remember right, we ended with that and talking about Jesus cursing the fig tree.
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah. Which is funny because like in Luke the fig trees in the next part. Anyways. Yeah, but right here it says what yeah, Jesus weeps over Jerusalem as he comes into town. So but Easter. Um what and if you were a disciple and if you had what a what a wild week that would have been for you. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Coming into town with Jesus and the whole town like praising him, and then so what's that is whatever day of the week that was, and then Friday afternoon he's dead.
Right?
What a turn of events!
Yeah, just crazy. Like, and then the same group of people that were just throwing branches down in the street, their clothes down in the street, watching Jesus ride in on a donkey, and crying Hosanna, and those exact same people, that same group of people, were the ones that were crying crucify him in front of
Yeah,
Pilate.
yeah, yeah. Crucify him, line the street as you walk by and spit on him and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
So I think I don't know, maybe just kind of a quick abridged edition of the in between. There was, they're in the Garden of Gethsemane, um,
oh yeah,
and um, Jesus is out there by himself praying. He's got, I forget which disciples were actually present there with him when he was arrested, but um, Jesus is out there just praying, and that part of the story is very interesting to me because that's where you really see Jesus's humanity side. When he's praying to God, saying, if there be any other way, let this cup pass for me.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, but your will be done.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then the guards, or the guards show up with Judas, and Judas kisses Jesus on the cheek, and they arrest him, and Peter tries to step in, and he cuts off the ear of one of the guards, and Jesus puts the ear back on,
There's a whole story for that too
Yes.
that I heard not too long.
Yes. And not to get begin the rabbit holes like this early, but what
Yeah,
would it
sorry.
what would it have been like to be that soldier? You know, so this dude comes up, you're trying to arrest this guy, and here comes this other guy and blindsides you, it cuts off your ear. And
Yeah,
the guy you're trying to arrest just walks up, picks the ear up, puts it back on your head. Like I just can't
like
imagine what was going through that guard's mind.
oh sure, yeah, yeah. I can't even. Yeah, I can't imagine what was going through his mind. I bet he was a believer after that.
I would wager, yeah.
Just put my ear back on.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like I was there to
Unbelievable.
arrest this dude and he put my ear back on.
Yeah,
Like anyway, there's a little bit of
yeah.
a rabbit trail there, but so they arrest him and
Oh, the cool part is I don't mean to
no, go ahead.
stop you.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have it in front of me. Like so, uh, when he cuts off it's a high priest right here. He actually cuts off. Struck the servant. Oh, servant of the high priest. My bad. Cut his ear off. Verse 51. This is Luke 22. Uh, but Jesus answered him and said, "Permit even this." And he touched his ear and healed him. So it's like he asked. He's like, "Hey, can I?" It sounds like he almost like asked for permission to like do that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
I suppose like if he didn't, if he just like reached up, all right, this guy just got his ear sliced off, and then here comes Jesus reaching for the guy's head, possibly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Without saying anything. It'd be like getting out of your car to traffic stop. It's probably like a good way to get in a bunch of trouble.
Yes.
You know? Anyways, so sorry. Hey, guy had to definitely believe after that. I mean, everybody standing there had to be like, "Oh, wow, look at that."
Yeah. Yeah. You would think that it would cause some pause for the other guys that were there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. I mean,
um,
did anybody else? Did they have like a second thought, like doing the right thing? You know,
yeah.
or were they just so bent, even though they healed him? Jesus healed that guy. I guess I could be like anything in real life, or I don't know, real life. That was real life, but I mean, like nowadays, like people with such a hard heart, even though they literally see something, Jesus do something in front of them, they just like still turning you in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know? Sorry,
Yeah.
just
No,
going off
and
there.
you're right. I mean it almost had to be that way because this is all God's plan for salvation, you know. This is like the beginning of his plan for salvation coming to fruition.
Right.
And like it's like a chain. You eliminate a link out of any one of the links in the chain and the chain falls apart.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Yeah.
And I guess that's it in that sense. None of this really, the story doesn't, there's nothing super surprising in the story.
Right.
It's looking at it through that lens that this is God's plan and this is what he has ordained to happen to in order for us to have salvation, have
Right.
that redemption. Um, it's just I don't know. It's I guess if you were to put yourself in that moment, like in that time period, not having 2,000 years of hindsight.
Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah, because my statement just is totally is 100% hindsight. So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, and that's like all of it, like virtually everything I say is hindsight. You know, it's like we can assume what it was like in the time, you know, culturally and you know how others were affected and that kind of thing. You know, there's a couple of different places in this story that is like that. That the events or the thing that happened to a specific person, like me looking back on it, I would think, man, that had to like change them. You know, and we'll get to one of them here in just a bit, but um you know, I don't know. I guess I don't want to get too far ahead of us, so
yeah.
so we're at the point where he's getting arrested. Um and then so there's like multiple areas here where this chain could have fallen apart. Like
Oh yeah.
they I guess I don't want to ad lib, but like
Oh, cracked open. Luke 22. That's where I'm at.
right.
Because you can kind of see the change you were talking about, like you know all the things that had to happen to go together to make to have this. Like you got Peter denies Jesus. Jesus is mocked and beaten. Faces Sanhedrin. Hand over to Pontius Pilate.
Yes, and so they initially take him to Pilate, and um the first time he sees Pilate, you know, it says right here, the then Pilate said to the chief priests and the crowds, "I find no guilt in this man."
Yeah.
But they were urgent, saying, "He stirs up the people, teaching throughout all Judea, from Galilee even to this place." And so I think, you know, they're trying their best to try to get Pilate to um I mean, obviously do their dirty work. I mean,
Oh yeah.
because they're telling him, look, he's rabble rousing, he's getting people all fired up, and you know he's gonna be a big issue for you if you don't do something. And that didn't work. So then they take him to Herod. Well, I'll just read what's in Luke here about starting there where they take
Yeah.
him to Herod. Um, When Pilate heard this, he asked whether the man was a Galilean, and when he learned that he belonged to Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him over to Herod, who was himself in Jerusalem at that time. Another little thing there that is another little tick in the box that God is working through all of this. Like Herod was actually in Jerusalem when this was all going on. When Herod saw Jesus, he was very glad, for he had long desired to see him, because he had heard about him and he was hoping to see some sign done by him. So he questioned him at some length, but he made no answer. The chief priests and scribes stood by, vehemently accusing him. And Herod with his soldiers treated him with contempt and mocked him. Then, arraying him in splendid clothing, he sent him back to Pilate. And Herod and Pilate became friends with each other that very day, for before this they had been at enmity with each other. That's interesting. I've always skipped over that part, I guess. I didn't realize that.
I was just gonna super interesting.
Um, Pilate then called together the chief priests and the rulers of and the people and said to them, "You brought me this man as one who was misleading the people, and after examining him before you, behold, I did not find this man guilty of any of your charges against him. Neither did Herod, for he sent him back to us. Look, nothing deserving death has been done by him. I will therefore punish and release him." And so that's where he had him flogged, right?
Right.
And but they all cried together, "Away with this man and release to us." Did I skip a page?
No.
Nope, I did not. Okay. "Away with this man and release to us Barabbas, a man who has been thrown into prison for an insurrection started in the city and for murder." Pilate addressed them once more, desiring to release Jesus. But they kept shouting, "Crucify, crucify him." A third time he said to them, "Why? What evil has he done? I have found in him no guilt deserving death. I will therefore punish and release him." But they were urgent, demanding with loud cries that he should be crucified, and their voices prevailed. So Pilate decided that their demand should be granted. He released the man who had been thrown into prison for insurrection and murder, for whom they asked, but he delivered Jesus over to their will.
Well, you want to talk about giving into the crowd?
Yeah. Yeah, and this is Luke's version of it, and it'll be interesting to see the other gospel, because I believe Pilate's wife had something to say on the matter as well. Um, yeah. Oh, I was just saying that it'll be interesting to see what the other gospels have to say, because I believe Pilate's wife had something to say about this. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yep. And I know in the movie The Passion, she has a pretty significant. I don't know if significance the right word, but she has a more of a role than just, a passing thought. You know. Yeah, because it's interesting that, like, when I was growing up, Pilate always got, like, labeled as the devil in this scenario. You know what I mean? Like, right, right. I think, and I think that's kind of a cultural thing too, because if I remember correctly, Um, I believe Pilate is even mentioned in Dante's Inferno. Um, I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that he's mentioned in that where he's like at one of the very inner circles or the very deepest sections of hell according to Dante, and it's because he was the one that killed the Messiah. And but there's no mention of the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Jews that were in the courtyard screaming crucify him and begging for a an insurrectionist and a murderer to be released and Jesus to basically take his place. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right, right. And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier about God's plan and all that kind of stuff. Um and, and I will get into some of the other gospels, but I I think, and this is just a movie, so it's just kind of somebody else's interpretation and they're filling in the gaps and stuff, but um yeah, the Passion I think did a really good job of filling in those gaps that the the trek from uh after he was flogged to when he was basically sentenced to crucifixion, and that the trek from there to Golgotha, I think they did a really good job of like how intense that really was. And the other thing that I wonder too, and this actually came from that movie, was I noticed that, and this may be something that I skimmed over too. Maybe there's something in the scriptures about this, but um, the two thieves that were crucified next to Jesus, they were just carrying the cross member, and Jesus was carrying the whole cross. Right. And I think that is the indicative of Jesus saying you have to carry your cross, you have to bear your cross. um and that makes sense from just a logic standpoint too, like I those two thieves, those were the only two guys that were probably on the docket to actually be crucified. And now all of a sudden you've got to add this other guy. Well, we don't have an upright up there for this guy, so he's got to carry the whole thing. You know, so I don't know. That was just another one of those interesting things that it's. I don't believe there's anything in the story in the scriptures specifically about that, but it does make sense, and it fits with the whole idea of um Jesus bearing that weight and yeah. So let's see. We are maybe we'll just finish the story out and then we'll go back through the different gospels and see what they have to say. What's different? Okay. So he's carrying his cross. He's getting up to Golgotha or the skull. Um, and I believe the guy's name was Simon that was told to help him carry. I think. I don't know. We'll get to that too if we come to it. But he gets up to the top of the hill and they crucify him. They stand the cross up and then there's a conversation between the thieves and Jesus, which is a super cool conversation between those guys, and really drives home the idea that no matter where you're at in your life, as long as you have breath, you still have the opportunity. Um, because I have to imagine, that the one thief um that basically accepted Jesus right there. Up until that point, I would imagine that he was just living his life, doing his thing. He was a thief, he was a dishonest person, all that kind of stuff. And there he is on the cross, and he has a conversation with Jesus, and and then Jesus tells him, you will be with me in paradise. And so there, it's not, as long as you're still breathing, it's never too late. Um, and let's see. Then there, the one they they give him the sour wine. Um, and then they what they needed to make sure that okay, so I'm getting ahead of myself. Jesus looks up, says, "It is finished," and gives up his soul, and Jesus dies. Big earthquake. The veil tears, which we talked about. And then they needed to make sure that he was dead, so they take a spear and they pierce his side. And when they pierce his side, blood and water come out. Um, yes, yes, uh, yes, yes. Um, so they, excuse me, they take him down, and there was a guy there. If I remember correctly, his name was Joseph. Had a brand new tomb. Uh, that he, I don't know, for lack of a better term, donated to him to be buried in. Um, and then 3 days later, the stone was moved. He rises from the grave, and absolutely decimates death, and is victorious over sin and death. Now, that was like a super abridged short version. Now we can let's go through here. And do you have one of the gospels queued up there? There you go. Awesome. All right. So, you just start whichever one you've got handy there, and we'll just walk through this what the Bible says. Right. Right. Yes. Yeah, I believe. Yes. Yeah, that would be my feeling as well. Yes. No, no, I don't know that I've ever really given that much thought either, that it was like you said, like 15 hours, and he was he was he was arrested, seen by Pilate, seen by Herod, back to Pilate, and up the hill and crucified. And man, they must have just been sprinting back and forth between Herod and Pilate to. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. I know who you're talking about. Right. Right. Oh yeah, I was just looking at that too. Hello. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Right. Yes. Technical difficulties. Yes. For some whatever reason, my computer decided to lose connection there for a second. Yeah. 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 Seriously. I am.